Hey, it's TDA, and yesterday a new roadmap was released for Civilization VII that aims to address most of the issues people currently have with the game. Now, there is very little information to go on what those updates will actually be and how much they will actually solve the UI kind of sucking right now, but I'm not too worried about that because again, there's a very good mod out there that solves, in my opinion, pretty much every important point that needs to be solved immediately. So if you don't know what mod I'm talking about, I'll link to it in the description. Let's start with one thing that is very needed, but also kind of funny. For every single coming update, including the one that is coming next week, but also the one that's coming on March 25, and then on April after that, it lists that there will be additional UI updates and polish. UI aside, the most important update for next week that I am looking forward to is the change to the cultural victory in the modern age. Right now, that is by far the fastest way to win in the modern age. You can even win by something like turn 20 usually if you really focus on it, while all the other victories take far longer than that. So even though I think the other three victories are kind of more or less balanced to each other, although typically you will win the science victory first before the other two, the cultural legacy is just way faster to complete. It's completely unbalanced and it's also really not fun. So, being able to either turn that off or just make some changes to that will go a long way towards making the modern age feel more interesting. Another change coming next week that I'm really excited about because I really like waging war on my enemies is refinements to army unpacking. That probably is going to mean that it's going to be far less annoying to unpack your units one by one compared to how that currently needs to be done. You don't want to unpack all your units in one go because it will just place them in a random position more or less, completely messing up your army composition basically. So unpacking them one by one right now is just annoying, so hopefully this will make a nice little update, quality of life type of thing to that. Then for the update next week, there's also a couple of smaller but still important changes. First of all, we're getting a new natural wonder, the Bermuda Triangle. I am not entirely sure if that means that your ships will start disappearing once they go into it, but either way, having more natural wonders is always a good thing. There is also going to be a memento balance pass next week. We're not entirely sure yet what that means exactly, but I'm thinking they are probably going to tune down a couple of the mementos that are currently kind of broken if you use them in combination with certain leaders. For example, there are some combinations out there that allow you to just spawn settlers in like the first 10 turns of the game like unchecked, and you can have 4 cities up by turn 15 or 20 depending on what game speed you're playing at. That is just kind of ridiculous, so I'm guessing to balance this game a little bit more for multiplayer, they will just take those mementos down a notch and maybe buff some others that are currently not seeing as much use. And then finally, there's going to be some bug fixes next week as well. The most important one of which I think is that you can now actually disperse coastal independent powers with your naval units. You can attack enemy cities with your naval units right now, but you cannot actually clear out the cities of independent powers with your ships. Next week, you can. Then on March 25, we're going to get a couple of updates that I think should have been in the game from the beginning. First of all, we're going to get an AI update. Scouting and settling is going to be improved. If that is going to fix the AI settling in completely random places across the map, just because it thinks that there's going to be good resources there even though someone else already took them, who knows, but we're going to find out. Hopefully it will be a little less annoying than it currently is. We're also then going to be able to customize the names of our cities and commanders, which again, I'm not sure why that wasn't in the game to begin with, and we're going to get some map generation improvements. Now, a lot of people have been complaining about the maps being kind of like square and stuff like that. Honestly, I didn't notice this until people said it, and even after they said it and I noticed it, I still don't think it's really a problem, because honestly my maps look just fine, but again, it is something that people were complaining about, so it's nice of the developers to actually address these changes in the next upcoming updates. And then last but not least, on March 25, we're going to get yet another new natural wonder, and this time it is going to be Mount Everest. I'm not entirely sure why we need entire updates and 3 weeks to add new wonders, but still, I'm going to take whatever wonders I can get into my game, especially if they're coming in for free. And then finally, for April and beyond, there's a lot of other changes listed. For example, we're going to get the one more turn option, hopefully in April already, that is going to allow you to keep playing in the modern age even after the victory screen pops up. You're also going to be able to queue your research, so you no longer have to click your research one by one after you complete it, but you can actually just click something further down the tree so you can beeline towards that without having to select every single research in between manually. And some other nice updates have been planned for later on, for example the Auto Explorer, so you no longer have to manually steer around your scouts, especially in the later ages. That takes a lot of time and you don't necessarily want to do that manually. All in all, I think most of these updates are actually really great. Should I have been in the game to begin with? Probably, but yeah, the game is already out. There's nothing to change about that now anymore, and at least the developers seem to be dedicated to bringing us a lot of these much requested changes as quickly as they can. So, you know, I'll give them a slight pass for that. At least they're working on it, and it's not the first time that a Civilization game launch is kind of buggy and incomplete, and things get added to it over time. You would think that in the 7th version of the game they would have learned from their past mistakes, but yeah, again, let's just take what we can get right now. The game is already pretty fun, I believe, so this will just make it even better. I'm going to do my best to keep you up to date on all these changes as much as I can, so you don't have to manually track all the forums and things like that yourself. And of course, if you do appreciate that, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for all of that information. For now, if you're still here, you're awesome, and do hope to catch you in the next one.